rotate. No, I don't want to. You can't turn your phone while recording. Okay, I don't want to. Hello, good morning. Saisha, black girl from Eugene. I'm here with my guest, Kokayi. Yeah. You're supposed to keep it cool. Okay. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. We have a great show. We're about to go in. Y'all about to hear some secrets of the trade. No.
Oh!
No. Okay. You didn't know, huh? I just told her right now. But okay. First, before we begin, as usual, I want to say some thank yous. Thank you to everyone who's joined my Patreon page. I have been sharing sneak previews of things to come. So if you guys want to find out what's happening with Black Girl from Eugene, because a lot is going on, join me. $5 a month. It keeps the podcast going. It keeps the office running. It keeps us here. So I appreciate y'all all. I also wanted to do a shout out to Vanessa Fuller and to Caleb Rexius. So Vanessa helped put together my webpage, and I hope you got, right? I hope y'all saw that promo. I'm so proud of it. Like, Amelia Folks, Vanessa Fuller, they put together that website. We all worked together, but Vanessa tied it, Amelia started it, and it's amazing. Check out that promo. Now the promo, it was me and Caleb. We got together, but watching Caleb work was inspirational. Like, that man, fast as he could be, the creative just going. It was insane. He was asking me questions, and I'm answering. He's like, it was magic. 2 hours, that promo was done, and it's beautiful, and I'm super appreciative for all the help. So thank you. Shout out to both of you, all three of you. Yeah, right? And I'm thinking, and then Cherie. Cherie did my hair.
Hello now.
Cherie did my hair. Hey, girl.
Not to ride.
Okay. So I want to give a shout out and love to Cherie, because I know my hair is half locked, half not, trying to color it. She like density, curls, loose. Like, it was a lot of work, and she killed it. So thank you so much. So Cherie is my girl. If you guys have wanted to do anything hair, she does black hair, white hair, curly hair, straight hair. She is the girl. So she is the woman. Get over to Salon Nirvana, Cherie Gatson. That is my cheek. Anything else? You had anything that you want to shout out to say? All right, here we go.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have to say the only shout out would be, hear Rasta. Hear everything that liveth and breatheth and moveth on the face of the earth. Hear, overstand. This day, we put aside attention and energy to remember the original honorable one, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. That's a shout out.
That's a shout out? That's a shout out, y'all. Okay, so look, let me first say something. Kokayi is coming by way of Ashland, but he is from Alaska. He's a community builder, and he tonight he is going to present a 1-hour speech, lecture, teaching of the origins of Black nationalism. And I know a lot of people were confused about what Black nationalism even is, which is okay, because if that's on purpose. The idea of Black nationalism has been buried. So don't worry about it if you were like, what the hell is that? You know what I'm saying? Because that's par for the course. You know.
True.
So come out. The tickets are still on sale. It's at Alton Baker Park. I'm going to MC, which is crazy. I mean, we'll see how that goes. It'll be all right.
You know, are we going to get to the main event?
No. No. I'm going to take up the show. Watch. Now he said it. What can I do? Now I gotta show up.
There you go.
All right. So anyway, so this is what we're doing. So I wanted you guys to know and meet and Kokayi here before we get into the show and get into what's going on. So we were both obviously, I don't know if it's obvious because people on the audio, we're both, oh wait, the audio.
We gotta do audio.
Hold on, let me see. That's good, that's okay. All right, we're welcoming into Black Girl from Eugene. We're starting. So I don't know that it's obvious for everyone because here's the audio, but Kokayi and I are both black.
Hello.
We're both black.
Unapologetically.
Right. And now you were born, you tell us about, first, my parents and his life and my life, we were talking about the way that we grew up.
Yes.
very different than the average.
Yes.
The knowledge stream that came through our households are very different than the average.
Yes.
And so the way that we grew up and the conversations we were having with our parents and the things that we were doing with our families were just something that wasn't average.
Right.
And our families have developed as we've grown older into being community really leaders in lots of different ways. And we wanted to get together and talk about what the household looks like. In our households. And Black households, we have different conversations. And
Right.
these households, we had even deeper conversations, I would say. But we're going to talk about that. And because there's some very similar things that went on for us, and there's some very different things went on for us. But here we are landing in the same space.
True.
Right?
True.
So let's go.
Okay.
So your parents, were you? They were all in Alaska, right? First of all, I didn't even know Black folks were in Alaska. I'm just gonna be real. I'm sorry. It's true.
I hear you.
It's true.
I hear you. Yes, and that's the first reaction.
Right.
It's like, whoa, wait a minute.
You from Alaska?
How?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So most of the times, whatever I'm saying has to go through a couple of filters.
Right.
So you can speak truth and be easy and just say it plain, and then the people around you don't understand anything.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So if you are steeped in the culture of individualism, then how are there Black people in Alaska? The answer normally gets rejected out of hand. The reason why there are Black people in Alaska is it was the least racist place that we could find in America.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. We talked about that diversity there.
Right. So it's a part of the second wave of the Great Migration. So then our white friends and family say, well, what is the Great Migration? Well, there was this thing called the KKK, and it was tearing up Black people's tails in the South, and so they didn't want to stay there and just keep getting lynched as if it was a natural order of things, because it wasn't the natural order of things. It was what these psychotic white people were choosing to do.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Yeah. So in the first wave out of the, which is like represented by the Great Depression people who got born. So this is Dr. King and them. They got sent to the north, so Detroit. Their children grew, and then they said, this still ain't good enough, and went to Alaska. So I'm born in the early 70s, or basically mid-70s, 1974. Economically in Alaska, you have this thing called the oil pipeline.
Right. So
the conditions of this oil pipeline in the subarctic are of such that when they tried to bring Alayu, who are, okay, so down here in Alaska, right? So this is like Alaska. So the pipeline is coming from Prudhoe Bay down over here to a port.
Right.
Okay, down over here to a port, right? This is 61 degrees latitude. We're at 45. It's 100 degrees here.
Yeah.
Right? It's negative 15 here. It's like negative 87. Okay, the conditions, y'all.
I can't even.
Right? Then they got these things called trade winds that split on this thing called a globe, and so that they call those Chinooks. They have a name for these winds.
Right.
Right, Chinooks.
Some
Okay.
respect on it.
Right. So the conditions were so bad that when they took native people from here to come up and help with the pipeline, the native people got out there. 3 days. Take me back home.
Okay. They said, we're not working out here.
Why? Like, why?
Right.
Why?
So, okay.
So, if you were crazy enough to work on the pipeline,
right,
they didn't care if you were Samoan, Japanese,
right,
Black.
Yeah.
They didn't care.
If you're going to do negative 80, just come on out here.
$10,000 a month in 1975.
In 1975.
77.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why you have Black people in Alaska. They were actually able to share resources with Black people. Second, the native people in Alaska aren't on reservations. So the level of broken person that we see, or that is normalized here in Lower 48, isn't the same back home. There's
What did you just call it? You called it the lower 48?
that's our Alaskan term right there. Yes, the
I
lower
was
48.
the lower 48. Okay.
So we number 49. We came in consciously.
Yeah, so that's how that goes. Okay,
Oh yes,
all right.
Hawaii's even got more attitude.
Oh, I know. I know.
We hate Texas because y'all think y'all big. Y'all ain't big. We big. We swallow y'all up.
Right.
And we got minerals. Minerals. You got minerals. We got oil. We got minerals. What y'all is?
Oh,
we
really?
talk all kind of smack to Texas. Louisiana too.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
They think they oil. North
Oh,
Dakota. Oh no. We can fund America's oil problems for 20 years without even leaving Alaska.
Right. So this is how this
This
goes.
is the attitude. Oh yes.
I
All right.
didn't realize
Low
that.
48.
Look at all the things we didn't know. About Alaska. Look, I thought Alaska was up there chilling, mining with their moose. I didn't know. I realized the oil, but I wasn't thinking about that. And I'm thinking about all the native indigenous folks there. I wasn't thinking about the reservations and all of that. You know what I mean?
They don't have them.
It's just a mind. And I realize a lot of people are like, Alaska's the place to be. I've heard this, but I could never understand why, because I'm thinking negative 87. I'm thinking negative, and I didn't understand it. I didn't understand how the days you can go with no.
Depending on where you are. So Barrow, because of the shadow of the sun and how the earth
Right.
is made, so it'll go 2-3 months.
Without having night? Is that what? Or having
Having
days?
day.
Having days.
No
That's
sunshine. So it's like midnight
all the time.
for like 64
You didn't live there, though. That's not where
I
you
didn't
were.
go to Barrow. No, I was
Okay.
in Anchorage. Anchorage is a port city down at the bottom.
Okay.
Warm water. So
Yeah,
Gulf
yeah.
of Alaska. It is a majority minority city.
Right.
So you got 140, 160,000 white people, and everybody else, just like America, is made up of all these other different kinds of people of color.
Yeah.
Right. So,
But I want to say, but when you say people of color, you gotta talk about who you're talking about. Because
Okay.
it ain't the same people of color everyone down here. is
correct.
talking about.
So what is going to be Sudanese or Hmong who are not choosing to assimilate.
Mm-hmm.
People of color right here in the Rogue Valley or in Oregon, it really, the way that Oregon tries to like look at race or something is like a cultural anthropologist.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're going to try and find some objectical way of measuring this. It's going to be how much melanin you happen to have. So are you 50%? Are you 60%?
Right.
Are you 22%? And then biological diversity somehow becomes ethnic or cultural diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm talking about quote unquote persons of color or communities of color in Alaska, I'm talking about a fully intact, functioning culture of Sudanese people,
Right.
3,000,
Right.
that
Right.
are trying to act white. They don't even think of this idea that whiteness is universal humanity.
And that to me is something I've never actually seen, and I can't even really imagine it. Honestly,
Yes.
to be honest, like to be very clear and honest, it's like they're not even concerned about. Now, I mean, obviously I've lived in a community where black community, but if we're here in the lower
Right.
48,
Right.
we are dealing with each other in proximity to whiteness. Like
Yes.
we're dealing with how we have to deal with white people
yes.
at all times.
Yes.
So you're saying this is not a reality,
Okay.
but that's what I'm saying.
All right. So now that goes back to the Native people. They set the tone. So you got Anchorage, and outside of Anchorage, Eagle River, which is like the white suburb of Anchorage. I mean, yeah, so they don't want to really live with black people,
Right.
so they don't like Anchorage because Anchorage has too many people of color.
Uh-huh.
And then right outside of that is Kludna. Kludna is native land.
Okay.
And there's a mountain and everything. So, on native land, for example, because boarding school just happened one generation ago, if a white person is traveling and they need to get gas, they'll stop and look at them like, how long are you going to be here?
Right. Don't stick around. Really?
Yes.
I love it.
I don't want my father remembers this.
Right.
And I don't want to have to deal with them being triggered for the next week. So don't go to the restaurant. Get your stuff here and keep going.
So saying that to white folks, the native folks there are saying,
Yes.
my father will be triggered by your presence.
Yes.
Move along.
Yes.
Right on.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's called sovereignty. They don't even deal with the state government. They deal with the federal government. If the state government tries to mess with them on their sovereign land in Alaska over some white person, that white person learns white supremacy doesn't have anything to do with this 80 million square miles.
Right.
Your arguments about humanity. You quoting Nelson Mandela don't mean nothing to this Yupik, to this Inupiat, to this Inuit, to this Athabaskan, to this Dinah, to this Aleut.
So all of those folks, all of those indigenous groups there,
yes,
are all sovereign in that same way.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
There's 12 corporations, native corporations. They get federal contracts. There is a native hospital. Because of what? Well, there was this thing called the Iditarod. Why did you have the Iditarod? Because there was this thing called this pandemic, 1918. And there were people getting flu. In Nome at the top.
Yeah.
So they had to get CERN from the bottom, Anchorage, to Nome. And so they had a dog sled that went up to provide the CERN.
Right.
Now, the native chieftains are sitting up there saying, if you white people weren't here, we wouldn't be having this experience.
Yes.
So now they have their own hospital where they don't charge native people who are having issues.
Beautiful. This is beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? The white people, 140 to 160,000 white people in Anchorage, tolerate that. They learn that they are human beings like other human beings, and we do not have to live up to their standard of humanity. It don't have to make sense to them why I'm choosing to be Yupik and not what you consider to be shared space. There is no shared space in your whiteness. There is no shared space in your white supremacy.
And the white folks there understand that due to the fact that the way
that there you have people who are refusing to try and assimilate.
That's right. To me, it's beautiful.
Yes.
And I don't think it's understood that that's within the United States.
True.
Right?
True. And so when you come from that kind of space...
Why you gotta be so cold? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So when you come from that kind of space and you're a white person who grows up knowing that you are on stolen land, you are that is reinforced every time there is the Alaska Federation of Natives who come to town, and for the next couple of days, your culture does not matter.
Yeah.
Okay? When native elder get up and for the first 2 minutes they speak in their native tongue, as a white person, you sit there and listen. And when that native elder wants to come into English, they come into English and you get to hear for a while, but you're not the center at all time, and you can't enforce, I can't hear. You can't go Karen or Ken. You better learn how to control yourself.
Go Karen, Ken, Craig, not
you better learn how to control
Chad,
yourself.
That's the what's the name? Chad. That's Chad. You can't go Karen, Chad. Okay.
Right. And so when you're dealing with more mature white people than what we're dealing with here in Oregon, who just start melting down and sincerely believing that they have a valid argument at times. You don't have a valid argument.
Interesting. Okay. Now we were going to talk about family, and we are, right?
Yes.
And the way that y'all ended up there. But interesting that what you just said to me and what I'm hearing is that I never thought of it like that. So I'm imagining now you've lived in Oregon for 3 years.
Yes.
So you might be in some culture shock, actually.
Yes. Why do we tolerate this treatment?
You up here like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
Okay. Wow.
Why do we tolerate being treated this way?
I'm learning at the same time here. I'm starting to see what's going on now.
We are acting as if we be our own selves. White people are so psychotic they're gonna kill us immediately. That is true to a certain extent. That is true.
Right.
And in this immature environment, that is true.
So when you're saying immature, meaning the white conversation, the white consciousness, the white mindset, the idea that they need to be centered first, well, you're saying that's immature.
Yes.
And being the fact, like in Alaska, where people of color, indigenous folks, black folks, it can have their sovereign space.
Yes.
White folks understand that.
Yes.
They've come to a level of maturity in their consciousness, is what how you're comparing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, yes. So then one of the healing things is an accurate retelling of what has happened in North America. Second solution from the first Alaskan Institute up on the wall is move away from the hierarchy of human value. Right then and there, white culture is eviscerated.
Right.
Eviscerated.
They start with the truth.
Right. And then two, we're not going to follow this system of hierarchy that is natural to white people.
Right.
Why did you follow that order? Because he told me to.
Mm-hmm.
That's America right now.
Right.
The post general does an evil order. And we're watching all these people following it. And we're now saying, those of us who aren't following it are saying, why are you choosing to do that?
Right.
I'm not choosing to do it. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. So wait a minute. You can't be an individual when black people are getting murdered and we're getting tired of being murdered and we tell you we're tired of being murdered. You can't be an individual, can't do nothing. But now you are in the organization and you can't act.
Right.
You're at the grocery store and you can't implement justice. What's going on?
Right.
You're in the school and you can't implement justice. What's going on?
Right.
You're in the street and you can see the police officer hurting somebody, but you can't intervene. So wait a minute. What's going on?
What's going on?
Do you have power? Do you not have power?
Right. What side are you on here? What are we talking about? Well,
Right.
it just depends on who's in the conversation, right?
Right. So then that means that you, as the white person in that situation, you are upholding and implementing
Absolutely.
and being complicit of white supremacy.
That's right.
And then when they point that out, the thing that seems at the present moment to be convicting them since George Floyd is how white racial innocence.
Right.
That is condemning them. Okay, so growing up in 1974, when you have this explosion of cultural nationalism, and it shows up as a dashiki, it shows up as the hair, it shows up as the say it loud,
Right.
I'm proud. Right. Exactly. And that was the music. That was the vibe. We were all doing that. There was a djembe, there was a drum in everybody's house, whether you were into Africa or not into Africa, because it was cultural. So out of that space, our childhood was grounded with the idea that, and I don't know how else to say this.
Right.
I don't know how else to say this, okay? White people is crazy.
Right.
And we're not going to act like they ain't. Which is what they want us to. Is not act like they ain't crazy.
Oh my God,
They do. So they want us to walk around and act like segregation never happened. That Ronald Reagan wasn't incarcerating people while he's doing it.
Kokayi, it wasn't them. It was their grandparents.
It was your uncle.
That's okay.
Right.
It's not twice removed.
Right.
It's not twice removed.
Right.
You gotta understand. This is not.
Okay. Oh, this is a classic. Okay, I'm gonna tell this story. This is a classic. Forgive me. This is a classic. Okay. So I'm growing up, and because I am Gen X, we are the first American generation, white, black, indifferent, to ever go to integrated school. My father
I see what you're saying.
is
Yes,
in
okay.
segregated schools. So
Right.
we are going through integrated school. Our white people in school, because it's integrated, because we're telling the truth, learn that they are white. This is the last thing that they want to be. Once they find out in reading the history what's going on, because you get the history 3 times, like from 1st grade to 8th grade, 6th grade.
Right.
Then they repeat that thing in middle school. Then they do it again in high school, like you didn't hear it the first 3 times. And so by the time you get to high school, the white people are like, I'm tired of hearing about how I'm evil.
Yeah.
Okay?
Just like black folks are tired of hearing about how they're slaves. Right.
Correct. So they start coming up with defenses. So one cat, he goes, because he needs to now say, hey, I got a right to be here on this land.
Right.
And he come up with this weird argument. I'm just as native as a native person. How?
That's what they're. Well,
He goes, here's his response. My family's been here for 5 generations. Oh, so when this was a territory, before it was a state, your people were here. So you're a homesteader.
Right.
Okay. We're contemporaries. So now I went to school with his big brother. So this is now the little brother. Okay. I don't want to give out names.
Right.
So CD, that's what I'm gonna call him. So CD is sitting up there making this argument. I was like, yeah, I remember. I was small here. Doesn't your family have a store? Yes. And your parents worked in that store, right? Yes. Okay. Question. Did you ever ask them any questions from the civil rights movement? What do you mean? Did you ever ask your grandparents or your father what it was like to have to legally put up a poster that says no natives or no dogs allowed?
Right.
Silence.
Right.
There's no right racial innocence.
Mm-hmm.
It's right back. Don't talk to me about how
Right.
you're as native as a native person
Right.
when native people don't have that in their actions in their family.
Right. Right.
So what are you? What are you?
What's the answer?
Right.
Yeah.
And you went quiet.
Right.
He didn't want to hear that.
Right.
And he's married to a person of color. So he's really now trying to show, I'm safe. I'm safe.
Yeah.
I'm not the, but you're the one running from what's going on.
Right.
That's not us.
Well, it's the true history of how you came here, how you came to power, how did you own the story, how did you be where you are. The true history of how that happened. People want to. It's
Run
that
from
cognitive dissonance. It's that
Yes.
they want to run from the idea that
Right.
they never did any harm to anyone.
Right. How am I innocent?
Right.
I'm innocent.
Right.
I haven't done anything.
Right.
Okay. You're mad at people going to the native hospital. Why? Because you can't go?
Right. Right.
It's
Because
racist.
it's free.
Right.
Right. Because it's free.
Right. And I'm keeping native people alive
Mm-hmm.
longer than the environmental racism that you're trying to implement through
Right.
public policy that they can't stop.
Right. That okay. So growing up, now you said when was that? When you're having this
So that is Trump era. So that's 2016. I'm having this conversation with him.
Oh, okay. So this is not when you were younger.
No.
Okay.
I'm reminding him of our childhood and connection.
See, I'm thinking like when you grew up, if you're growing up in that environment, that's like true diversity.
Mhm.
You know, like
Mhm.
actually true diversity and inclusion. That's actually true inclusion,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And I would even dare to say, without having the details, it looks like a lot of equity going on too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when they say equity, then it's like by the native standard, when
Yes.
they did something called the permanent fund, everyone in Alaska had to get the dollars.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everyone.
Okay.
Babies had to get the same level check as grandmothers, as adults. There wasn't no age differentiation.
Right.
That's not the native standard.
Interesting.
The
That's excellent.
arguments that white people were making, shut that down. That's not our standard. If you want our vote, you're going to do it the native way.
Interesting. Right. Right.
We're not talking about shares of stock.
Mm-hmm.
The same check.
For everyone.
Everyone.
Right.
So if it's a 10-person family,
Everybody's getting that check. Yeah. No, I heard about this check. I heard about this. And so I'm in my mind, like I'm thinking of you guys moving in. And when you say from Detroit, is that where your
we
family's
come from Louisiana, man.
Shut the hell up. You're from Louisiana. Your family's from Louisiana.
Bad woman,
Oh,
made me lose my happy home.
Your family's from Louisiana. Okay, that changes everything.
Started up on champagne.
Oh my goodness.
Ended up on beer.
So who?
Zydeco.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. That was it. Yeah, I know Zydeco very well. So, okay, now you're coming. Who's coming from Louisiana? Your parents or their parents?
Everybody.
When did y'all
Everybody
move
black.
over?
Everybody black is concentrated in Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. 800 families. Some from the military. Some from the pipeline. Some because of the military and the pipeline creating something called economy. There were cement finishers, so it was lots of tradesmen
Yeah.
who came up because you were literally building a city. It started at 50,000, and when I left,
Y'all came up to build the city there.
yes,
I see. So that's why you guys, that whole pipeline idea was your guys' families coming up for that very reason.
yes,
Interesting.
and there was the distribution of dollars into people of color's hands.
Right.
It wasn't just always the white people getting money,
No,
which
I
is
love
what
that.
happens in the lower 48.
Right.
Like, no matter how much the federal government sets aside, the white people seem to keep getting money, and people of color don't get money, even though supposedly there are white people who support people of color getting money. When it comes down to actually doing it, they become too scared of these other white people, so they can't implement justice.
Right.
Right.
So when you're coming down from now you're up in Alaska, you're there,
Yes.
you're coming up,
Yes.
going to school,
Yes.
you decide to come here.
Yes.
Why in the world did you come here?
Because it is very hard to environmentally watch your state die.
All right. So
Polar bears are starving.
Mm-hmm.
The North Cap does not exist. There is no iceberg on that thing. There is no ice cap.
Yeah.
It's all water.
Right. Wow.
Walruses are committing suicide because they were supposed to be killed by hunters and polar bear, and they couldn't make that sacrifice then. So now they're making the sacrifice so that the babies can live.
Wow.
They are way more civilized than we are.
Yeah. So you're actually physically seeing this. I mean, everyone's talking about, oh, it's the environment's changing and blah, blah, blah. But they're acting like as if it's something that's far off. You're looking at this going, this is every day. This is
we've been actively watching it happen the last 10 years.
Right.
So it's real hard
and accelerated.
to watch it. Right.
We've all know about this.
Right.
You're living in it.
Right.
I mean, we're here in Oregon and we're talking about the changes that are happening in the land and the weather, and it's way hotter than it used to be, and we have really harsh winters and we have really, mild winters all of a sudden. It's just off. Everything's off. But nothing that I can see like that, where I can look and say, there's no more snow in that mountain, it's just gone.
There's no more iceberg. And when I was there, we walked on that. We can't do that anymore.
The iceberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, you can't.
So you have to leave because just the environment around you is just like falling apart, basically.
Right. They have to, I think the latest thing I read on the news was they are learning how to relocate entire native villages because erosion has accelerated the land falling around them.
Yeah.
Because the permafrost is melting. So now what ice underneath the land doesn't exist anymore. So now it's becoming pools of water and dropping.
This is not how they live.
And erosion. There's supposed to be ice.
Right.
It's supposed to be cold.
Yeah.
It's not being cold anymore. It's warming up.
Right. Yeah, no, of course. This is what we're talking about.
Yes.
This is what we're talking about.
Right. And so here it's easy to stay in the white veil bubble and just block everything out and do the hippie false manifestation of happiness, and
It's the bypassing of all things negative.
Yes.
Of all things.
All things negative. Don't tell me about the problem, just tell me about the solution.
All of the things. They don't want a solution, they just want it to be loved.
Correct.
I mean, right. Solution takes work. They're not doing that.
Correct. And it the solution takes ease in the nervous system of the trauma that's in white people.
But it's funny that I'm listening to you where you're coming from, your perspective of Alaska, and then your family with Louisiana, and then the work and the indigenous and the diversity, inclusion, equity, all of these things that you've been raised in, your parents at home, the idea of Afrocentrism, the idea of Black-centered living, the idea of Black nationalism, just self-sufficiency.
Yes.
Around in the idea of that you've been surrounded by this really deep and underrepresented in the lower 48 diversity, right? There's no way, I don't know anybody that can name 5 native groups in Alaska. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I mean, we could do it here. We know our 9, but there's way more than 9 that live here, right?
True.
You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that for you to live in this very highly diverse place and still be able to be very much your guys' self in your household, in your home, and because that's what's respected.
Yes.
You're respected to have your sovereignty identity. You're respected to be who you are.
Yes.
Who you are, right?
Yes.
So to come from this space to this space.
Yes.
Now I'm like concerned for you. Now I'm turned into like, are you all right? That's how, because this is severe.
True.
The level of where you went to, where you came from to where you are is a severe, like 180 to the inclusion and diversity and all of that. It's actually like, I mean, it's like, I'm thinking of my hair, it's like taking bleach and just ripping all of it out, and you're coming into this space of just emptiness. And what I'm looking at is that you're looking at whiteness and the people that you see here, and you're looking at them like they're in pain.
Yes.
Because they, like you said, they're immature.
Yes.
And so you're seeing whiteness in a way from a lens that like I don't even know. I mean, that's to me that I'm thinking now. All of a sudden, like I'm like because when the way that you've described white pain and their inability to connect to this idea of human,
humanity, yes,
right,
being.
That's interesting. Now that I'm looking from the perspective in which you're coming from, because it would be very clear to look at white folks in a way where you're like, I see where you can be, and how you are not yet there.
Yes, and kicking and screaming.
Right.
That's not true about me. What do you mean?
Right.
So the idea that, coming from the culture of individualism, connection feels like pain.
Right.
The fact that
wait, say that again.
coming from the culture of individualism,
right.
Connection feels like pain.
Okay.
So what we have is to go mathematical, because as soon as I said that, now we're back in our body. Don't do that.
Right.
White person doesn't want to be in their body. It hurts to be in their body.
Mm-hmm.
It's the trauma of what you were born into that you're in denial of, because Native people are able to talk about their historical trauma.
Right.
Black people are able to talk about their historical trauma.
Mm-hmm.
White people, because of the level of denial, have yet to begin even giving themselves the vocabulary to talk about how it felt to implement the genocide and implement the enslavement.
You jump to, like, they can't, because it's first of all, you gotta admit that you have a problem. Hello. You gotta first say, I did those things. Not I, but we did those things.
Right. And so in the Rogue Valley, what that would look like is, and this is where I get into trouble with some of the white people, they'll come to me, they'll talk about reincarnation, which is built into every indigenous society, okay? Society is one of the regular ideas. So now they're coming, like Columbus, brand new, want to teach me my own culture.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Like we grow up in Louisiana, they bouncing the baby. Okay, who you with? Who just died?
Right. Who just died?
No, what's your
Who's showing
personality?
up right here?
No,
That's
right.
right.
That's okay.
People looking at the baby like, that's an old soul right there.
Right.
We've
Who
seen
you
it
is.
before.
Right.
We see.
Okay. So now we have a white person who didn't grow up with that experience.
Right.
Who now wants to tell me about reincarnation, and they're going to tell me I was Native in a previous life. Okay. Or I was Black in a previous life.
Yeah.
And we're like, that's not how reincarnation works.
That's not how it goes.
Nobody talks about it like that except for you. What do you mean? I will believe you when you tell me, I remember being my great-grandpa, and I would rape Black women on a regular basis.
Right.
And every other month with my friends, my cousins who would come in,
you can't always
we would
be a
rape
princess.
Black men.
Right.
Right? And you're like, okay, so when you start telling me about those memories, now we're talking about you were reincarnated.
Now we're talking some truth.
Right.
Right.
Okay? Connection feels like pain to an individualist because you know what you... It's like almost like Jimmy Superfly Snuka doing one of his promos. I'm sorry, Professor. You know what you did, brother. You know what you did. And that being enough to hurt you.
Right. Oh, but...
The Black joke. Man, if I want to hurt your feelings, I just tell you the truth.
Right.
Everything else is jokes, man. I'm just, come on, man. These is jokes.
It's just jokes,
right.
man.
But if I want to hurt your feelings...
That's hilarious. I will just go straight up at you.
Tell the truth.
Right.
You know what you did, brother. You know what you did.
It's true.
Okay?
It's
so
true.
it's that part. And you don't want to even acknowledge that. So, like, to me, what I think is causing the Zoomers to, like, back Black people for the first time, and then we're talking about white Zoomers, against their older generations is watching the older generations engage in the conscious, cultural, cognitive dissonance after George Floyd.
Right.
They saw George Floyd get killed. They saw that white man soothe his nervous system by killing a Black person. That's white culture. Every white person, no it isn't. No it isn't. Okay, do you want to read the real history?
Right. Do you want to understand? Because no, it's much easier. Well, because it's much easier when you put truth like that in front of the mirror, in front of someone, and say, "Look at this." It's much easier for them to blame the person holding the mirror.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
You triggered me.
You put this mirror in front of me. If it wasn't for you holding that mirror, everything would be fine.
No,
Right?
I can still see you.
Right. And the truth of it is that anyone who's holding that mirror patiently and quietly, waiting for them to see themselves, is actually compassionate.
Teach.
You know what I mean? That's compassion. Regardless of how uncomfortable it is for you to see the truth, the fact that the truth person, that we're picking this mirror up and saying, in order for us all to get to this place that you want to be, this anti-racist space, this equity space, we're going to have to start with you.
Oh, man in the mirror.
Right. I mean, now, but you're talking about black nationalism. The idea was that we're healing. This idea that we're trying to see each other. We're trying to say, you know, you're beautiful. Let's please not follow what you're hearing everywhere you go.
Yes.
To me and to you, you are beautiful.
Yes.
Right? And so this idea is so scary
to white people.
To white people.
I can't join you in what? In your pain with George Floyd. Right. I want you to join me by seeing yourself as Derek Chauvin.
I know, yeah, like no way. No way would I do it. There's no way. No, but you know, I told people, like, we had a conversation at one point and somebody said, I was so upset when George Floyd died and I called all my black friends. You know how the first move was. And I said, well, did you call your white friends?
Lord,
did you call your white friends?
Oh my goodness.
Because I mean, why call your black friends? You know, we're talking about human beings.
Right.
Connectivity of human rights, of human existence.
Right.
So why are you calling black folks?
Right.
And not the white folks?
Right, because you see how George Floyd is connected to black people, but you
don't
sincerely believe in the culture of individualism, and you aren't connected to any other white person.
Any of those cops, any of those Karens, any of those Chads are not you.
Yes.
But all of those Mike Browns, you know, Tamir Rice, all of them are us.
Yes.
That is a disconnect, and that's why it's so very hard for white folks to understand that this conversation about race, this conversation about anti-racism, is truly about them and their disconnection to who they are, who they've been, right? That I loved how you described white folks with the maturity and the immaturity, because it's growth.
Yes.
That's
that
all
they
you're
don't believe they
describing.
can do.
That's all you're describing is growth.
Yes.
It's not even a pin of bad or good.
Right.
Or it's an understanding of growth.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The baby. There's two babies in this idea of human connection.
Yes.
Individualism is a very baby idea. 2-year-olds don't know how to share.
Oh my God.
Right?
My God.
I mean, you gotta teach a 2-year-old. In my family, we look at my 3-year-old grandson and we be like, look, hey,
stop.
Sit down. Share that block. Oh, he doesn't have to share. Yes, the fuck he does. Share the block. You do not hold. You have all of these things. You see your brother has none of those things. You need to make sure that your brother has something. Don't have all this on your own. You share. This is a community. You take care of each other. That is very little. We do that. Look, 3 years old. He sits there, I don't want to share. I said, look, you better change that tone. 3 years old, okay? I don't want to share. And then this is what he said, I want to hit my blocks. I said, we don't hit when we're angry.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, we don't hit when we're disappointed. 3 years old. I look at him dead in his eye. I said, look, Anthony, we do not. That's not what we do.
Right.
Now, who is we to him? He don't know.
Right.
We don't do that.
Right.
And that's what I say to him.
Right.
I said that shit this morning.
Right.
Look, we don't act like that. You upset? Take yourself to your room and lay down.
Right.
That's right. Go
Process.
lay down until you feel better.
Right.
I don't want to lay down. Oh, look, you're not going to talk to me in that tone.
Woo.
You are upset and you are frustrated. Share with your brother. Give him that block and go to your room and lay down and think about it. 3 years old. Now, what's he going to do? I said. What I said. As he matures.
Teach.
As he matures.
Teach.
This is not going to be an issue for him.
Teach.
Matter of fact, when he sees his brother without a block, he's going to be like, hey, I got 2 blocks. You want a block?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Here's a block for you. Here's a block for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When he's upset, he's going to think twice about knocking something over. Because he's going to be like, it's not going to solve a problem. I'm going to go down, I'm going to lay it down, and I'm going to think about it. Now, as he matures, those thoughts will get bigger and deeper and more profound to his processing.
Yes.
On his own.
Yes.
That's what this is about.
Yes.
That maturity of feeling your own actions, your own accountability, how you show up to this situation. What have you done? You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
At 3 years old, what are you doing to your little brother? By all those holding everything, and he's got nothing.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
This is not a lesson that's complicated, really.
True.
This is a 3-year-old
True.
who's getting that lesson.
True.
By 5, we're not going to have that lesson anymore.
No.
Not
Not at all.
So I love the idea that you use maturity and immaturity. It just takes away the idea that something's bad. You need to learn. And you need to grow. The civilization itself, right?
Yes.
White civilization, the idea is as a young, United States society is a baby.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you're talking about the being ancient, like the native land that you're on in Alaska. This is not baby.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Our mother Africa is not baby.
Yes.
Right? This shit over here, we're still in infancy
Yes.
of consciousness.
Yes.
You see? So yeah. So anyway,
Yes. So, yes, you are. Oh my God. Oh my God. Now, if you understood the PhD TED Talk she just gave, if you actually understood that, we can go home.
We can go. Mic drop. Let's
Implement
go.
that. Because what we're trying to do that with is 198 million white people who are insecure at the present moment.
Right.
All right? Nobody came and did that service of guidance
Yes.
after the civil rights movement. So we're acting as if white people at the Montgomery bus boycott, once Dr. King got it through, somehow they transformed on their own with no guidance out of segregation. Just walked out of it.
Right.
No. They kept arguing from the mindset of segregation as if they were equal to the black people that they have been killing for the last...
Right.
I'm sorry. Y'all gonna learn. The left side of my brain is Mr. Malcolm X. The right side of my brain is Ross Bob Marley. And so Malcolm would sit there and say, who is this person for us to be equal to?
Right.
He's the greatest murderer on the planet.
It's like a
So
woman.
what you want me to do? Be equal to the murder?
Right.
So because he killed George Floyd, should I go kill a white person?
Right.
That's being equal in murder.
Right.
We don't want to
And
do
that's
that.
not what you do.
That's not
No.
what we do.
That's right.
So when we don't do that, we get something called moral authority. Why? We're going to heal you. The Gene family. Heal the Gene family. You guys aren't hurt. She's still hurt.
Right.
We've healed you. We know how to heal you. The court system needs to do its job. Our white friends and family don't know how to heal Amber Geiger.
Right. And she needs some help.
Yes.
And she needs some help.
Right.
Yeah.
So when she acts uncivilized, but they think this is civilization by making an appeal on her murder as if she did not murder a black man.
Right. In his home.
Correct. And then they sit there and say, well, she has a point. No, she doesn't have an argument.
Right.
She does not have any valid arguments.
Right.
Don't treat her like she has any valid arguments. You must share.
Right. That's right.
You don't have any valid arguments.
Yeah.
Your feelings don't matter.
Yep.
And that's when they start saying, wait a minute, what?
Right.
Yes,
Right.
you go to jail. The term is 17 years or whatever it was. It was something light on a match.
Right.
Do it.
Yeah.
After you do that, then come talk to us.
Right.
But don't come to me talking about you didn't do nothing wrong.
Right.
Yes, you did.
The moral authority, the moral idea of this. Right. We're going to sit in here and it's like,
Yes. Yes.
Right.
And so every time this white racial innocence, whenever we hold firm and don't move from our standard, like you're just saying, the white person learns, they're white. And I don't have to choose to be white with you or argue from the standpoint of your arguments are valid. If we just view ourselves as love, there's shared space in white supremacy, which is what you just asked me to do.
Right.
To share space with you in white supremacy.
Right.
Not in the integrity of who and what I am.
Exactly. And which, I'm like, hold on. Like, which is, when I'm trying to take it down to the vocabulary that's understandable. No, you're perfect. What you're describing is true inclusivity.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying. That's what I want to be heard. What you just described is what inclusivity would look like. We don't have to share that space in the way that you understand it. But in the way
Yes.
that I show up to it.
Yes.
Right. That's the difference.
Yes.
And that's where people have a very, very hard time with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
In the conversation that I have in my anti-racism conversations, that's almost the last piece that I go to, because the idea is so difficult for them to even see that that it's okay. How is it going to be okay that you're doing things I don't understand, and we're supposed to, like, how do we do that? Like, what do I do when you're doing what you do? And it's like they literally don't know how to be in that space. And so it's like, it's a level of control. It's a level of, like, individualism, actually appreciating someone else without having to take from them.
Yes.
Or even, like, allow us to say what we need, or not. We may not need a damn thing. We could be in that space and not need you at all. Is that okay?
Yes.
For you. I'm not asking permission. Is it okay for you? Can you deal?
Yes.
That's the different question. Can you deal? Because we'll be just fine.
Yes.
But the idea is that having to always negotiate that is where the trauma comes in for us.
Yes.
And for when I'm thinking, like, if you coming down here from Alaska, being where you're at, from the household in which you grew up in, even the household in which I grew up in, I feel like there's something about the way I feel like I almost grew up biculturally.
Yes.
Because I had to learn outside of my household.
Yes.
How to work in whiteness, and I do it very well.
Yes.
And sometimes, because of such close proximity to whiteness for so long, I gotta go out and double check my black. I'm like, let me please.
Oh my God!
Let me get some more. Because it's getting thin. The air is getting thin. I need help. Like, you know what I mean? But the people who don't ever get out, that it goes into your head, and then that's like Get Out. Have you ever seen Get Out?
Oh,
that
yes.
movie is like, and then all of a sudden it ain't coming out right. Like, something's happened to you. Like, you've become, you're not in your body anymore, right? You're not in your melanin. You're not feeling your connection to the earth and to the sun. You're gone.
Teach.
Right? Because the proximity has sucked it out of you. So when I grew up, like, it was a very, I think, and I just realized that my mom is a triple Libra. Y'all know I love astrology. Now, it makes me feel like what we learn to do is balance so fiercely the idea of who we are and who they are, and actually how to maintain the balance.
Right.
Right? You know what I mean? And maintaining the balance has been what I think. Now, I've got 7 brothers and sisters. The older will tell you something different of their experience with my mom and dad than the younger will tell, that we will tell. But I believe in my synopsis, or my summation of what I learned living in the very black household in a very white town, was that I learned to balance.
Yes. Yes.
I really couldn't be, and maybe I could have been, but I actually saw myself as, like, I really couldn't be what I do at home. Like, I couldn't say what I am at home. It showed up because it is who I am, right? I remember taking maybe it was a test. It was some sort of test to find out if we were gifted or not gifted or whatever, and like creativity type of thing. Mm-hmm. And I remember they asked us to write as many things as we could, and the average was like 4. People would have like 4 pictures, like pictures that pop into your head. I had 15, right? But when I had 15, the pictures that I had, they wanted to tell me that because they couldn't recognize, because I was drawing pyramids, and I was drawing
from your cultural reference,
right? Because I had
your
theirs.
Reference stock.
I had 4, like they said, 3 or 4 of theirs, and then I had all this other stuff that I was going to, do. And they were just like, "What is all of this?" Like, it was like a thing where I had come out from the aliens. Like, it was like,
Columbus.
What
Back
is all
to Columbus.
of this? Right. What is all of this? So anyway, I remember that idea. It comes out of me, the creativity comes out. But I always knew that I could only do this much.
Because they can't absorb it.
Right.
And now that's the common ground that they call for.
Well, it was that idea of that, what I told you my dad would say, you have to be overstanding their position. Right. Right? So I didn't even feel the need to have to push it.
Got you.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because it was like, I know I'm overstanding where they're at. The immaturity. I'm not going to tell a 2-year-old that they need to be driving my car. I know they can't do that.
But when we do that out in the community, economically, politically, socially, that's when they say, "You're being racist."
Right. Yes.
What do you mean?
Right.
What do you mean I'm being racist? You can't do this yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're still trying to get over the idea that you lynched people.
Right.
You're still trying to get
No,
over
deny. You're trying to deny the idea that you are that.
Right. You're still trying. Yes,
Right?
that's that trauma coming out where
Yes.
you don't even want to look at it.
Yeah.
But you want to talk to me about equality.
Right. Oh, I mean,
unity.
I can't even imagine. All of that. They don't get that. It can't. It's too far of a connection. You have to help connect those things because, like I said, the immaturity. You have to guide it through and help them grow. And the pain and what you're describing, to even look at that, I can only imagine if a white family said, if you said to them, you're denying your complicitness in lynching, your family's historic complicity of lynching, they would be appalled, right? And then at the same time, if anyone actually soaked in that idea, I think the first thing by knowing white folks is they would actually look for the details. Was my family? Did my family? I gotta look. They can look into their history and say,
we can't do that.
How many generations were we really? No, I'm okay because my family was an abolitionist. We're okay. We're good, right? Okay. But they need to have that.
Yes.
Right.
And so I get to love, and this is where we had the cultural stock.
Mm-hmm.
It would be, especially with Mother Tubman, Mother Harriet, would sit there and ask them. And I've done this class because when I come in and do history class or I do the trainings that you're doing, I usually got to come in and say everything I can because usually I don't get to come back again after I say it, right? So I ask the question and I say, okay, so y'all know that Mother Harriet worked for the U.S. government as a spy and freed 700 slaves who were pinned up at one time. Yeah. Freed 1,000 slaves, would have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves. Yeah. Okay. Do you think Mother Harriet saw a difference between a white man in a blue uniform and a gray uniform?
Right.
And they go quick. Well, yeah, because the gray uniform was the Confederacy and the blue uniform was the Union. I go, thank you very much for that very white-centered idea. Mm-hmm. You said it from her knowing about white people.
Right.
Right? Okay. So now you are making the assumption the North was safe and that somehow the Underground Railroad ended in like New York City.
Right.
It ended in Canada.
Because that's not their mom.
Yeah. Right. It ended in Canada.
Right.
She saw you the same. You were just in two different outfits. Mm-hmm. What?
Yeah.
Slavery was all 13 colonies. Mm-hmm. That's why you get it in the Constitution.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, they all wanted to do this. No.
Yes.
You can't say that.
You can't say that. You can't say that. That's hilarious. I'm sorry. That's not funny.
That's the breakdown.
No, and you can't say that. It's hilarious.
Right, but that's the breakdown, especially here in Oregon, where they're walking around. What was it? Here in Eugene, the cross burning site. The last time it was burned, it was like 2002.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And they're acting like that didn't affect any white person.
Nobody, who knows about that? It was not in the news.
Oh.
The cops don't talk about it.
Oh.
The lynchings that happened in the park, no one talks about that. You don't hear, it's not in the newspaper. How did we hear about it? Because my sister worked in the morgue or someone was around. It's not because it was like...
Right. So...
Right. It's not broadcast. This is the KKK land. They do everything at night and under their hoods. It's not something that... Right.
So nowadays, some of the offerings that are provided, I almost have to start saying, okay, I know I'm underbidding myself because I want to do one class where all the students, their buy-in to get into the class is, I need a story of your family and how they dealt with segregation from the Civil Rights Movement. From your father's childhood, how did they learn? Who taught them how to treat Negroes?
Right.
I want to hear that story. If you do not have that story, you can't come into this class.
Wow.
That's the prerequisite.
You don't have 2 people.
Correct.
Or anybody.
Correct. Because now, and this is where we want to switch, because this is part of the this is part of the lessons that came from the household, was we're trying to talk about humanity with people who do not have the same reference points that we're trying, or that they say that they have. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Specifically, in Alaska, native people were sent to boarding school. The part of the reason why they got the land was in 1971, a graduate of that boarding school sued at the Supreme Court level for those 80 million. It was called the Alaska Native Settlement Claims Act. Okay? He used white people's knowledge about white people against white people.
That's how that works.
And because they had just did it to him, they could not deny that he was using white people's knowledge. Right.
In real time.
Right. He was the byproduct. He survived boarding school.
Right.
He didn't graduate from boarding. He survived these white people. Here's the first thing, okay, and this goes around the world to any indigenous system where the Europeans came out and did these boarding schools, because it was the French, it was the English, it was all white people. It wasn't just one set of white people, like they say, go down to, no, my particular ancestor didn't do it. Yeah, yours did, okay? All right. So the question would be, whether it was an Aboriginal person in Australia, whether it was a Hindu person in India, whether it was a Bantu person in South Africa, whether it was a Cherokee or Mohawk person or Yupik person in America, they would have them in a classroom. And the white person who was this benevolent teacher who was there to do good would say, people, because he's thinking of them as humans. They're just darker versions of him. Imagine yourself in the forest, alone.
Oh, shit.
And the native children would go, what kind of people are you?
Yeah. Right. And no one's understanding. No one's understanding from the white person's perspective and the indigenous person's perspective is you can't be alone in the forest.
True. And so then when the white person finds that out, here's where the immaturity starts becoming real.
Right.
And this is where we're trained to, now we got to help you manage this. We are trained because you don't even know what it is that we know, because as soon as we connect your umbilical cord to the earth, what are you going to find out?
Right.
There's no umbilical cord here.
Right. Right.
Now, if I go back home, who are my cousins? The Natchez and the Choctaw. Do I have them in my family? You best believe those are my cousins.
Right.
So I have an umbilical cord in America. The old joke, what do you call 64 white people in a room? One Cherokee. There's no that was a real joke.
Oh my God.
Okay?
Okay.
There's no umbilical cord. Your umbilical cord is in Ireland.
Right.
Your umbilical cord is in England. Your umbilical cord is not on this land. If we start having a real conversation about reparations, we're not having it with our white friends and family, because you don't have any say-so over what I really want, which is access to land. You're going to have to give it back to Native people, and then I'm going to go to my cousins and have a conversation with my cousins.
Right, right.
You're going to be gone, homie, if you're here.
Yeah.
That's what we're really talking about. Okay, so now, I'm growing up, and I have, and we start figuring this out around the time that the Malcolm X movie was coming out. We start figuring out that our white friends and family did not have connection. They had the American flag.
Right.
They had rock and roll, which got stolen.
I was going to say, they did not have that.
They took it. Right. So the idea that we knew we had something called relationship culture. A method of doing stuff, okay? And so in black culture, personality reigns supreme. And it's relationship based. Umoja, Ubuntu, I am, by being witnessed by you, made a person through you. We are connected. This relationship validates my existence, and I'm validating your existence, because without observation, you do not have human activity. We're being, okay? And then our white friends and family learn we don't have that.
It's in relation to others and everything around you.
Yes. Right. Now, if I go over to my native friends and family, They have being culture.
Right.
All right? So the closest thing in the black community to that being culture is Rastafari.
I don't know. I won't.
Right.
I'm gonna say yeah, okay.
Right. So the original presentation of it is because they were in the forest and they stayed and learned who they were in the forest without any contact with white people. So when they came out to the city, all they would say to each other was, yes, I, peace and love. So they were known as the peace and love people. And then they came up with this thing called I language. And it was all positive. So they would hear the white people say, good morning. And they were like, I don't see anything good about morning. So they're going to say grand rising. And they completely changed it to where, no, we're supposed to just enjoy the earth. Enjoy being here. Feel love. Feel this. It's super emotion based. The very pleasure of watching the sunset is what the human does. I'm just a humble African. Some even call me a Rasta man. And it's just going through the earth. That's being culture. Right? What we get from Europe, Arimba Anani calls Yurugu, which is now the hungry person coming out of Europe, believing that there are limited resources on the planet Earth, and that if I don't take it from you, I'm not going to have. So it's always the hungry. I forget the name that the native people came up, but it really means essentially the same thing.
Right.
The greedy ones who keep eating and don't ever get satisfied. Right. So now we're looking at our white friends and family as, for real, that's the state and condition that you're in. I don't have to take that on.
Right.
Okay? And so we have these various examples of personalities that didn't do that. Dr. King.
Right.
Malcolm X. Right? Harry Belafonte.
Yeah.
Lena Horne. And we rattle these people off, and our white friends and family now have to search through their history and say, we don't have any. Who are the people that are anti-racist?
Right.
Who are the people who did this? Because on the black side, it's almost damn near 92, 93%. This is what we've been living.
Right.
Okay? So, come into our house, and it's lit with laughter. And what we learned was black joy triggers white people.
Oh, punishable by death. Yeah.
Black excellence triggers insecurity in white people. It was an amazing increase in self-esteem to learn you're really scared.
Right.
About me just being happy.
Right. Yeah.
Knowing who I am. Not trying to be dependent on you.
Right.
Knowing damn well that Superman has to be black because I haven't seen a single solar cell that was white.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Knowing this alternative way of being terrorizes you. That's an amazing superpower. It is.
You think so?
To be able to the fact that 4 black women can be at a restaurant in Eugene and the 30 white people be uncomfortable because they are celebrating someone getting a new job.
Right.
Or celebrating someone getting a promotion.
Yeah.
Or celebrating someone graduating from high school. And these other white people are uncomfortable and can't even explain to themselves why they're uncomfortable, but you can see that they're uncomfortable. So what you going to do? Get it even a little bit more lit.
Right.
And enjoy yourself like we're supposed to enjoy ourselves. Right? And so we would get into the newspaper every year, self-esteem boost again. For what? Kwanzaa. And the white people would be like, what's Kwanzaa? Oh, that's a culture that came out in 1965 by Maulana Karimba. We could rattle off the origin of it, and here are the principles and the fun. I don't have a culture. Yes, you do. Your culture is genocide and enslaving of human bodies. And so you want to have access to human bodies and break human bodies whenever you start feeling any kind of emotional discomfort.
Right.
That's your culture.
Right.
No, it isn't.
And they're like, wait a minute, that can't be right. So, okay, I go back further, and I don't know that we have time, and I'm thinking about, when I'm thinking about the conversation I had with my dad last week, after my show, and we were talking about biblical, the 42 negative confessions versus the 10 commandments. Yes. And so the idea that exactly with what you were just explaining, with the 10 commandments being what it is and 40 negative confessions, the perspective in which those things are coming from.
Did not cheat someone at the shop.
Right.
I did not lie to my mother. I did not lie to my father. I did not.
There's a connection there.
Right.
Right. A negative confession, I mean, that's a negative confession, right?
Right.
But a commandment, as if there's someone to control who you see what I'm saying? So there's a difference in how that perspective even happens.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And that goes
part.
way further back.
Right. That part.
Right. That goes way further back. Yeah.
That part.
That comes from the essence of melanin. I mean, that comes from, the connection to the higher being.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
How are you actually working within this system because you are part of it? Just like that whole indigenous idea of how can you be alone in the forest?
Yes.
You can't possibly be alone in the forest.
Yes.
There's trees. There's dirt.
Yes.
There's a river.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes. And then what you're going for really now, Patako, Tep, and them, and that I have a relationship from this physical plane to the plane that I cannot see, that we're pulling substance from.
Exactly.
As above, so below. So if I treat people down here a certain way, what is the correspondence from the source?
It's called spiritual. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's all connected.
Yes.
You can't be spiritually bound to something that you're not spiritually working through. Like it goes back and forth.
Yes.
Right? And so what you are doing here is directly connected to what has been done and what is happening.
Yes. And so the culture helps you make meaning out of your human experience through your personality, and you know that you are not alone. So when you feel emotional pain, it isn't torture, because if you just feel pain for the sake of feeling pain without any meaning, it becomes torture. But if it has meaning, then it becomes a transformative story
then it becomes growth. See, and this is the difference in the household. Like we come back to it. This is how this works.
Yes.
And so it's fundamentally different.
Yes.
That's the whole point.
Yes.
The black girl from Eugene.
So we want to.
How we roll.
Yes. Yes. And so the more that we have space to be ourselves and be protected from the trauma that is in our white friends and family who see us being our own selves, and then see the contrast, instead of them taking that feeling of contrast, that discomfort, going to each other and building the culture that they need in order to not tap into that ancestral grief and pain from the genocide and the enslavement. Create something new. But they got to do that work. And that's what this time period is asking for, is for white people to go off and do that work that is left over from the civil rights movement. You got to do more than read Chaos or Community, Where Do We Go From Here by Dr. Martin Luther King. You got to do more than quote the book. You got to do more than quote Dr. King. You actually got to do what Dr. King asked you to do in the book.
But it goes right back to the beginning of our conversation. White folks having to look at themselves. It's complicated. It's painful. It's traumatic. It's the truth of white history is painful and traumatic. Not only for the people who endured it, us, but the people who were inflicting it for whatever issues that they had mentally, societal, whatever that was about, genetically, going back further and further back to the genetics and the I don't want to say mutation because that doesn't sound right, but you know what I mean? But the way that white folks have come to being, there are things there that have been hidden from white people because it's painful. So what we're saying is that to maintain growth, you to even establish growth, you have to face the pain. That's for anything. It's for everything. You know what I mean? Every single thing. So, and once you do that, you'll start to see patterns, and you'll start to learn why things have been able to be created and sustained in the way that they are sustained. you'll see it. You know, it's just, it's hard work, but it's necessary work.
So the dream that they gave us, and then we can go home.
Yes.
The dream that they gave us was, what is it like to go to school and to literally just be going to school?
Right.
What is it like to go to the grocery store and to literally be just going to the grocery store?
Right.
You're not managing white people.
Right.
How do you live your life without having to take into account all the time you surviving white people?
Right.
Okay? And so that is the world that we're working towards, that they gave us as we could bring into being.
Right.
So it wasn't anything of victimhood. Okay? What we learned was the healed black person triggered the unhealed white person.
Right.
And the healed black person is able to remain alive.
Mm-hmm.
And in remaining alive, they can go to the next level and self-actualize. Mm. And it is the space of us reaching towards self-actualization that is the adventure of black people going to the next horizon of humanity. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
Right. So then it's like we learn how to sing and write our songs as if joy is the point of it.
Right.
Not surviving white folk.
Right. Right.
Or protecting ourselves from white folk.
Right.
Right. We get to come up with solutions within our own community, like the Black Panther Party and the Breakfast Program. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And then they will wake brothers up. No, man, I'm tired of seeing you on unemployment. So here's what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. This house over here, we found out that the homesteading law, that if we get a dilapidated home and we fix it up, it becomes ours. It becomes ownership. So you know what you're going to do? What? You're going to learn how to swing a hammer. You're going to learn how to put this nail here. You're going to learn measurements. Come here, boy. Right. And it wasn't a question of, well, what if white people don't like us doing this?
Right.
Then they're going to learn what the law is.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can learn. And why are you still talking to me? You need to be
walking. Get that hammer. Like, why are you still here?
Right.
Yeah.
Where you don't even think about worrying of the reaction. You implement the solution for your community. Mm-hmm. And what we end up finding out is the white people are just watching us the whole time because they don't know what to do.
Right.
So we can now in 2020, rather than keep dealing with this bleeding off of our energy, begin implementing the solution, the rite of passage program, mm-hmm. the Kwanzaa celebration, mm-hmm. Right. The birthday celebrations. Mm-hmm. We can begin taking care of ourselves, and in taking care of ourselves, that is enough. We do not have to keep expending all this energy trying to heal people outside of ourselves. Right. Because in healing ourselves, we become the medicine of contrast for those who are watching to heal themselves if they would just do what it is that they see us doing. I'm going to say this and then I'm done for sure, okay? It's Baptist 3. It's Baptist 3. Malcolm, black nationalism, mm-hmm. would come to his teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he would be frustrated, be mad. And you know, leadership, black people wear you out. You know that. I keep telling them what to do, they don't want to do it. Honorable Elijah Muhammad, since he's been doing this for so long, would be like, Malcolm, clean your glass. And once you clean your glass, the people who are sick mm-hmm. will find out that you're not sick because they can see you're having a different experience than they are. Instead of you telling them that you're drinking out of a clean glass, wait for them to ask you what you're doing different. Then mm-hmm. you just show them the clean glass. Right. It worked.
Right. Right. Yeah. I was just gonna say, I'm like, there's so much under white supremacy that requires healing from everyone involved.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's important that, exactly what you're saying, black folks, we have to be gentle with each other mm-hmm. and responsible for clearing the pathway for each other.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Really the idea is that in all this trauma that black folks are going through, white people in the proximity that we're here, you know, because there's not this inclusivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
The support that white people are giving black folks, it's like, that's great, right? But what I hear and what I'm seeing and what I promote really
Mm-hmm.
is that white people individually do your work too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's like we've said this a couple different times in the last 15 minutes. It's painful work. You gotta face it. You know what I mean? And it's okay to be distraught about it.
Yes.
You know, we have learned how black folks have learned how to work and walk and every day, like you're describing, going into the store. How do you manage these things?
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is an everyday oppression that we have learned to manage and still be pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Teach.
Right? So you can do the same.
Yes.
You know, you can go through these uncomfortable feelings and still manage yourself, still be pleasant. Understand. It's like I wonder, and like I go back to the black household, I wonder what conversations that you're having with your children. Because my children are hearing the one conversation I shared with you.
Yes.
We do this.
Yes.
We act like this. We don't accept that behavior.
Yes.
You know? So my little boy would come in and I'd be like, oh, the little boy at school gonna get his butt, you know, hey, you're gonna get attacked. We don't act like that. We don't act like that. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
We need to bring it together because you're a part of a family here. Bring it together. You know what I'm saying? That when you tell a 3-year-old to get himself together, like, he don't know what you're talking about, but he knows, he sees you, and you're standing here like this, and there's no emotion. I'm looking at him like, get it together.
Oh.
He gonna look at me like, oh, I'm supposed to be like this. I'm supposed to straighten up.
See.
Guidance.
Yes. See, like,
help.
It's like, little man, it's gonna get to the point where, see, what's gonna happen is, see, grandma's gonna look at mom. Mom is gonna look at grandma. Then grandma's gonna look at you. You're gonna look at mom, and then you're gonna get up and make grandma a plate.
Right. But you know, the truth of it is, Uncle gonna step in and go, come on, man. Come on, man.
The first couple of times to tell them, that's what that look looks like. That's what that look means. That's what that one means. They didn't say anything. They ain't called them.
You gotta get that faster, bro.
They don't know. That's not gonna happen.
Isn't that funny? But it's true though. It's like how the family comes around our babies, how we teach them.
Yes.
That's the family. Yes. That's the black family unit.
Yes.
It's a unit.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
We're raising as a group.
Yes.
Understand how these dynamics work. You're a part of these things. You see?
Right.
That's a different perspective.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And the white folks at home, I don't know that they're doing that with their children, where they're actually a cohesive group, and that's how you work amongst the group. It's more like individual.
Correct.
Right. So anyway, okay. Did you have anything to say before I'm going to go through the comments and see if anything.
Go ahead.
Did you have anything pops up? Okay. Thank you guys for watching and holding on with us. Yes.
Asante. That means thank you very much.
Okay,
in
now
Swahili.
In Swahili. So we've got Barbara, which is when purpose becomes our goal, we are all succeed. And Barbara is my mom.
Oh,
yeah.
Mia is purpose in Kiswahili.
Yes,
Yay.
And then here's my dad, Carl Richardson, which is funny. Okay, Carl said, hey, interesting brother, interesting conversation. White folks have a problem with the weight of balance.
Oh!
Mark says, lot less birds around right here. I don't know what that means.
Me neither.
Okay. Anna says she's watching. Okay, so the comments are few. That means we were saying some. Let's see. I know quite a few black folks in Alaska. That was Kiva Gibson. And Anna said the video is sideways. Now, they told me it would be sideways. It wouldn't be sideways if I started it sideways. And then she's telling me that the video is sideways.
All right, because you need the landscape.
Well, I have it. This is what I did last time. So what I did is I just started it sideways and pushed.
And the Facebook is supposed to correct it.
Yeah, and she's saying that it didn't do it. So
no, we're so sorry.
We're so sorry. Yeah. So let me switch it for the last moment. Like now you can't see us. There's Kokayi, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
So meet us.
I'm poor.
So meet us at Alton Baker Park today. from 4 to 7. And Kokayi is going to be giving a lecture, a talk, some teachings about the origins of Black nationalism. And the tickets are $20.
Yes.
And you can buy him at the park, right?
I believe so, yes.
Point of sale. There will be music and entertainment. There will be food.
There should be light outdoors. I mean, there ain't gonna be no black people standing food fair now,
Right,
y'all.
right. But there's gonna be a little
There'll
something
be
there.
something
A little something there. Okay.
Right.
So please join us, and I will look forward to seeing you there. Like I said, the video. I'm so mad about that. Anyway, okay. I love y'all. This is Black Girl from Eugene. See you next week.
Yay!